Hi guys, how's it going? Okay guys, I'm going to apologize in advance for whatever I might say today because I simply cannot get my head around how absolutely moronic the UK's chief negotiator actually is. He stood in the House of Lords yesterday evening and spoke just a complete load of utter shit, okay? And what pisses me off is that the British media continue to pander to this nationalist claptrap that is based on pure fantasy. From even the title of his recent correspondence, you know, a command letter. Who does he think he is? I mean, what type of gobshite is this guy? Really? So what we're going to do today is we're going to examine how Article 16 is invoked, what must be done before each action takes place, and most importantly of all, what are the limitations of Article 16? In simple layman terms, I mean. So no legal mumbo jumbo. Oh, and before that, don't forget to subscribe, share the video with your mates just in case they don't know the amount of damage Brexit has done, or if you just want to piss them off. So let's go. Now, firstly onto the Oompa Loompa Lord Frost. I've noticed that he adopts the exact same approach to everything he does. He deliberately delivers the headline-grabbing titles in every bloody speech he gives and then tones it down in later paragraphs, knowing full well that he'll be able to defend the headlines when he sits with the EU negotiators, but when faced then with the Brexit numpties in mainstream media, can then hide behind the headlines. So he's playing this Jekyll and Hyde thing all the time. But I'm beginning to think that this moron is actually believing his own shit. I think he actually believes that the UK is in the driving seat, and he forgets why the UK signed this internationally binding agreement in the first place. And he signed it. This deal was signed because it was the best deal they were going to get from the EU. And it was the only deal that would have been accepted by Parliament, and it was also almost identical to the deal that the experts said they could expect. But he knows how Article 16 works. He knows this full well. He helped write the bloody thing, and he's depending on the British people not knowing how Article 16 works. So I thought it'd be a good idea to break it down simply, okay? Very simply, so that you guys can share it with everybody you can, and maybe, just maybe, you can help those among us who remain in complete darkness and removed from reality. So I'll give some text with this video along with a visual representation, okay? Now, I also want to assure you all watching that on a matter of such significance, I don't guess, especially on topics with such serious repercussions, if Boris and his numpty brigade screw this up, because there is that possibility, but I don't guess. So, but on this point, on the Boris screwing it up, I will proffer an opinion. You see, Frost has already given his press statement after the command letter was written. He has already received his reply. He chose today to speak in the House of Lords, I think for the third time on this matter, and said absolutely nothing new that he hasn't said before. And it appeared to me at least that Frost could be fishing. He could be fishing both for public opinion and fishing for opinion in the House of Commons to establish whether or not Boris has the support for invoking Article 16. Of course, he could simply be aiding Boris in his constant attempt to deflect from reality of both the ramifications of Brexit and or the ramifications of the COVID problem that is moving ever so closer to the shoreline from the horizon. That seems to be coming back with a bang. But I'm honestly not sure, but it sure as hell isn't for the benefit of finding solution. Because if that is what he's trying to do through his speeches, then he's an even bigger fool than I thought he was. And I just don't think it's possible he could be that dumb, okay? But let's look at the withdrawal agreement and establish what Article 16 is about. No ifs, no buts, no but anyways, just what it says. Now, it'll take about 30 seconds. That's all. It's not complicated. And by the way, I've left a link to the protocol in the description below, okay? Article 16 outlines safeguards to the agreement. It doesn't, in any shape, manner, or form, as is being portrayed and bandied about by the Numpty Brigade, act as some form of extreme boycotting tool. It is not. It simply itemizes the safeguards, which are as follows. 1. If the application of the protocol leads to serious economic, social, or environmental difficulties that are liable to persist, or to a diversion of trade, a large diversion of trade, the Union or the United Kingdom may unilaterally take appropriate safeguard measures. But such safeguard measures shall be restricted with regard to their scope, regard to their duration, to what is strictly necessary, and in order to remedy the situation. Priority shall be given to such measures as will least disturb the functioning of this protocol. Number 2, if a safeguard measure taken by the Union or the UK, as the case may be, in accordance with the first paragraph, creates an imbalance between the rights and obligations under this protocol, the Union or the UK, as the case may be, may take such proportionate rebalancing measures as are strictly necessary to remedy the imbalance. Priority should be given to measures as well as that will least disturb the functioning of this protocol. Okay? And the final one is safeguarding and rebalancing measures taken in accordance with the previous 2 paragraphs shall be governed by the procedures set out in Annex 7 to this protocol. Okay? That's it. That's all that's in it. So it lays out the circumstances in which unilateral action can take place to remedy a particular situation. But it also points to exactly how that action must be taken. Okay? And again, even shorter than before, you may want to understand how this happens, and in order to educate the ignorant. Okay? For your information, by the way, Article 16 is on page 326 of the GFA, and Annex 7 is on page 427. Now, excuse me. The procedures referred to in Article 16 are as follows. When the Union or the UK is considering taking safeguarding measures under the article of under Article 16(1) of this protocol, it shall, without delay, notify the Union or the UK, as the case may be, through the joint committee, and shall provide the relevant information. 2. The Union and the UK shall immediately enter consultations in a joint committee with a view to finding a common acceptable solution. 3. The Union or the UK, as the case may be, blah, 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 may not take safeguard actions until 1 month has elapsed after the date of notifying that they're going to invoke Article 16. Okay? Now, it goes on a little bit more, but when exceptional circumstances require immediate action, exclude prior examination, the EU or the UK may apply forthwith protective measures strictly necessary to remedy the situation. Okay, now points 4 and 5 relate previous to the other one. However, it's the last point that's the most important and defines clearly and unquestionably why Frost is talking absolute hogwash and why he's an embarrassment to the British people. Okay, and it goes like this. 1 to 5 shall apply mutatis mutandis to rebalancing measures referred to in Article 16 of this protocol. Now, I'll read that again. Points 1 to 5 of the Annex shall apply mutatis mutandis to rebalancing measures referred to in Article 16 of the protocol. Now, many of you may not speak Latin, and even if you did speak Latin, that term doesn't make sense. But from a legal perspective, okay, and leaving all the legal eagles behind it, it is not a reference to the Lion King, okay? It is legal jargon for saying that upon agreement, you can change anything in the protocol, okay? You can change anything in the protocol so long as the intended purpose and functionality of the agreement remains intact. Okay, so you can't do something just because you don't like it. You can only do something if it doesn't contravene the intended purpose and functionality of the agreement. Okay, the function of the agreement is to keep Northern Ireland in the customs union, and not for Northern Ireland to abide by other rules. That is the agreement. The function is to keep the Northern Ireland in the customs union and for Northern Ireland to abide by the customs union rules. In return, the Northern Ireland guys have free access to the EU and the UK without any border, any checks. It requires the same paperwork as though it was coming from anywhere else in the EU. In short, it's the best of both worlds. Okay? Now, so should the UK take unilateral action without following due process, a number of things will happen. One will be a full-scale legal dispute that the UK will try to delay. But the agreement already has that covered, as we've already examined. Okay? The second thing will be the big one, and the gamble upon which the EU will need the cooperation of the Republic of Ireland on how to stop an influx of goods into their market from the UK. How can that be done? I really don't know, to be honest with you. Maybe you have a clue and you'd like to, let us know in the comments. The third thing that will happen is that the UK will lose that case. No question about that. As to even suggest that the lack of availability of chilled, uncooked minced meat of any description can be held up by Frost as a fundamental shift that could not be envisaged prior to the signing is both stupid and just a barefaced lie, and nobody's going to swallow that one. As Dr. Claire Rice of Newcastle University recently explained, quite simply and quite frankly, calls for the UK to use Article 16 in response to the issues that have been seen with regard to trade between Great Britain and Northern Ireland have become confused by political rhetoric, which has created the impression that invoking it will bring a speedy resolution and our return arrangements as they were before the protocol came into force. Basically, that's not what Article 16 does. This is not the case at all. So in effect, none of the practical issues seen to date in relation to Northern Ireland were unforeseeable. None of them were unforeseeable. Furthermore, confused political messaging about what the protocol would look like in practice has further added to the sense that the challenges being seen in Northern Ireland are unexpected. Rubbish! But for anybody to claim that, and should such a war of sanctions occur, inevitably it will end up being settled on just two prevailing questions. One, did the prevailing circumstances warrant such an action, and were those circumstances unseen prior to the signing? Two, were the actions taken by either side proportional to the issue that presented itself? Now, before the numpties go off on one and start waffling on about the medicines and the guide dogs for the disabled and the VAT on importing cars, all of which were sent in the command letter, these have already been addressed, okay? And were addressed within a week. Guys, the withdrawal agreement is the biggest international trade agreement the UK and the EU, I believe, has ever signed or is ever likely to sign. And it's falling apart within weeks of politicians in particular, UK politicians I mean, clapping each other on the back and hailing it as the best deal ever in the history of the world. We got Brexit done, and just 9 months later, it's the worst deal we ever created, and it's killing this and it's responsible for that. I mean, seriously, if any numpty says this to you, please respond with the truth. Just the truth. Shut the front door, as you are a typical idiotic moron who was too lazy to learn what you were voting for, only so that you could claim that you were just following political advice. But if those same politicians told you to put your finger in the fire, you would have told them to take a hike. Yes, you would. But in this Brexit case, you chose to vote leave and sentence every man, every woman, every child of this generation and the next to live in a country that has completely isolated herself from any chance of prosperity. And yet still, despite the evidence staring at you right in your bloody face, you choose to ignore it because it conveniently hides your complete and utter stupidity, and you blame the fallout on somebody else. How's that for a Christmas lunch sermon? Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the flip side. Take care. Bye-bye.